second series of my series on interviews and chats with different people relating to COVID-19 situation of Sri Lanka. And now we are nearly a year in about a month, I think we'll hit a year's time of our lockdown and our different changing lifestyle. And COVID-19 also, the coronavirus has been keep on changing. It comes to variations, mutations, or whatever scientific name they want to call it. So there are a lot of clarifications all of us need at this point, whether how long it's going to continue, whether it's going to end, whether it will not end, what will happen at the end of the day. And then there are a lot of misinformation and misconceptions as well. So today I thought I'll restart my series, which I started in the first wave lockdown with equally very special guest. And my special guest to run us through or walk us through these issues today is quite known these days. She's very famous these days because of research work. Professor Neelika Malavige. She's a professor of immunology and molecular medicine of the University of Jayawardenapura. Professor Neelika, thank you very much for taking time off your very, very busy schedule and joining my interview. How are you today?
Good, yes.
You're good. That's right. So tell us, where are we now with regard to this virus?
Yes, so that is a very in Sri Lanka. So that's a very important question. As you know, things were very much under control till early October. But when all the world is very much affected by COVID, as we know, then we can't, of course, we can't be isolated from the rest of the world. And it's a matter of time which we will also experience what is going on. So it is not at all surprising and that we got the second wave and it is going on currently. And when you look at the disease pattern, the number of cases have gradually increased. It hit about 900,000 cases for, I think, 5 or 6 consecutive days. Things are actually reducing a little bit, I would say. Now we are going back to about 700 cases per day, which is good. So I think we have to understand that there will be ups and downs. And new variants will emerge, which will cause ups and downs again. So I think at this point, when the whole world is actually experiencing COVID in a big way, I think it is very difficult for us to be isolated. And so we are going to have these ups and downs. And I think, unfortunately, this is going to continue for some time.
Okay, that's a very important question. I'll probably run you through some basic questions which all of us have, and we thought everything is over because when the first lockdown we managed it very well. Until the second lockdown came, we thought everything is over. But now, you and I have heard a lot of other professionals in the medical field say, both Sri Lanka and abroad, even people like Dr. Fauzi from US says, this will go on for a while. Now, what does that keep on mean for a commoners like us? Now, what we heard, coronavirus was originally identified in 1960s or something. It came in different variants, if I may, or different subviruses or whatever you want to call it at different times. So COVID-19, is it one of those subviruses, if I may use that term? And what is its lifespan? Is it a lifespan issue, or is it that all the population, they say that all the population will get infected at one point, called herd immunity or something? And is it that we are going to have a problem till that happens?
Yes, so those are very, very good questions. So coronaviruses have been there for a very long time, not just 50, 60 years, but we're talking about 500,000, 10,000 years. So these have been there in the human population, causing things like common cold. So nobody's actually scared of common cold. All of us get it from time to time. But the special thing about COVID is this is a coronavirus as well, but it is a completely new coronavirus. And there are 2 other nasty coronaviruses which caused SARS in 2003 and MERS in 2012. SARS was wiped out and MERS is still there. But I can talk about the differences there. But why we are worried about COVID is this particular coronaviruses causes severe pneumonia and death in quite a few people who are infected. I mean, in other words, too many people who are infected. So this is why different countries in the world had various stages of lockdown to contain the virus. Some countries like Australia and New Zealand went to extreme measures, like they will somehow eliminate the virus. Of course, they are very isolated from the rest of the world in the Asia Pacific region. But we have to understand we are living in a global village where there is a lot of connection between the countries, and in this day and age, unlike in the 10,000, 20,000 years ago when there were tribes, very isolated tribes, we are not in the tribal communities anymore. We interact very much with each other. So now, if sufficient number of people are infected or immune to the virus, then of course that would reduce transmission. But that is a bit of an unkind way to stop the virus, because by trying to get about 70 to 80% people infected by this virus, that would mean so many people will get severe pneumonia and death. So that is a very expensive way of achieving herd immunity, I would say, because the cost of human lives will be enormous. So because of this enormous cost of human lives, if we just let it go naturally, this is why we are going to the best thing of achieving herd immunity through vaccination. So without actually causing, making people have natural infection and becoming immune to the virus, what vaccines do is making people immune to the virus by tricking the body to make our immune system believe that they had the infection, and so they will prevent reinfection through vaccination. So that is a kind of way of achieving herd immunity.
So this new variant which we're having now, okay, the new variant which is supposed to be transmitting at a very high speed, what is the status of that? I think you are the one who confirmed that about a week ago, right?
Yes.
Your research?
Yes. So I'll just, before coming to that variants, I'll just briefly touch on variants in general. So what do you mean by variants? Okay, people are confused what variants are. So now we know that this coronavirus is a RNA virus. So we know that there are different types of nucleic acids. You have DNA and RNA. So when RNA multiplies with the viral replication, it makes a lot of mistakes. And you call them mutations. So most of the mutations that happen are unfavorable for the virus, and the virus will die out. But some of the mutations are favorable for the virus and help the virus spread faster or infect people who have already been infected. And that is called evolution and survival of the fittest. So due to these mutations, when a virus comes up that is able to transmit faster than existing virus, because of natural selection, this particular variant, which is more fitter than the existing virus, will take over. Because it's more fitter than the existing variant. And also when there is a very high level of transmission, and let's say about 30 to 50% of a population is immune, then the virus can't reinfect those people. Okay, so and when the virus can't reinfect those people, then the virus can't transmit as well as having a group of people who are not infected at all. So, but the prime aim of a virus, or the prime aim of any organism for that matter, is reproduction. To reproduce as much as possible. So when you have a lot of immune people, then the virus can't infect. So then the virus mutates to reinfect those people. So now when we look at all these variants, some of the variants are associated with higher transmissibility. Some of the variants have evolved to reinfect people who already have had COVID. Now, this particular variant that we identified from Sri Lanka, which is the so-called UK variant, it was initially identified in the UK, but actually now present in 82 countries, including so many Asian countries and in countries like New Zealand, where they have very strict border control, no tourism going on because they want to try and achieve zero transmission and elimination. But despite that, even in countries like New Zealand, we find this variant, because here we are talking about a virus, not a seen thing. So it's very difficult, and when these things happen, it is nobody's fault.
Right. So when will this variance, it's for me as a layman, it's like in a fantasy movie with these characters keep on changing in a way that you can't identify. So this virus, you said it keeps on taking variants and reinfecting people. Do you think this stop, or we'll have to have this so-called new normal till it ends someday, or is it something that we'll have to live with?
Yes, so it is like one of those movies, isn't it? You shoot the bad guys, and
Yeah.
then nastier guys re-emerge, isn't it? So so then you have to keep on shooting the nastier guys, and the even nastier guys re-emerge. So
Yeah.
it is like one of those movies,
Yeah.
like the enemy that is re-emerging enemies nastier and nastier, and you need better weapons to fight them. So now the question of whether this will go away. Now, if we are to eradicate this virus, we have to achieve zero transmission in all the countries in the world, because we should not forget
Now,
here.
can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Can that be achieved?
Yes.
It's not
No.
possible.
Because I'm going to ask you that question. I was going to ask you that question. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we should not forget that this whole COVID situation in the world started from one person.
Yeah.
One person was infected, and look where we are. So now I'm going to ask you the question now, because this is not a scientific question. This is a common sense question. So do you think we will be able to achieve zero transmission in all the countries in the world?
I don't think so. Not
Yes.
normally.
Yes. So I mean, because it's
We already put our life in hold for 1 year.
Yes.
And 5 years, 6 years, I don't think it's possible. Some scientists in the US I heard saying this will take about till 2025. Did they mean, or did I misunderstand? Did they mean that in about 5 years, zero transmission?
Yes, so I'll explain what they meant, okay? Because I mean, all of us, I think, will have to accept that we can't have a lockdown in every single country till we find every single infected person. And again, with any of the diagnostics here, we can't identify every single infected person because they are not 100%. Okay, nothing is 100%. So I think that is some important thing we have to accept, that we are not going to get rid of this. But we can get rid of this in a different way. So in 2025, so what everybody means is, when we immunize sufficient number of individuals. So I know there is talk that certain vaccines are not working against the variants, which I will explain. So how do we achieve that? I will explain despite that how we can achieve that. Basically, having adequate immunization of the population, let's say at least 70 to 80%, is likely to reduce transmission. And if you actually vaccinate 80% of the individuals, you will very well significantly reduce transmission until it doesn't bother anybody. So that is what people are talking about, and why we can't do it in 1 year. Like let's immunize the whole world by the end of this year. We are talking about 6 billion people. Like if you are talking about 80% coverage, right? So so there is a problem with supply and demand to achieve that.
Yeah, so 7 billion. So now you got into a very important point, the vaccination. Now, are we using Sri Lanka? Let's talk about Sri Lanka. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which I think that one of the team leaders is also a Sri Lankan person in Oxford. So is this the correct vaccine we are using? Or are there better vaccines? We are not using other brands because they are too expensive, or is this more harmonious? What is the position?
Yes, so the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is a very good vaccine. Obviously, it has been given approval by the WHO as well recently. So all the vaccines have been given emergency use approval by the WHO. So that is what the WHO gives these days. And this vaccine has shown to prevent hospitalization and severe disease in people who receive the vaccine. So actually, I think we are worried about COVID because it causes severe disease and death. So if a vaccine prevents severe disease and death, I think if you get asymptomatic infection, I mean, in other words, if you're infected and you don't know about it, so that might not be too bad after all. If vaccines can only achieve that. Now, whether it's the best vaccine, now, there are two other leading vaccines, the Pfizer and the Moderna, which also have been given approval. So it's just 3 vaccines which have been given approval up to now. So the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are very good. The Moderna will not be sold outside the US. So then there's no point talking about things that are not sold outside the US. The Pfizer, of course, the Sri Lankan government, I know, had several discussions with Pfizer trying to get that vaccine down.
What about Sputnik, the Russian one?
Yeah, I'll come to Sputnik. So the Pfizer vaccine, and they are happy to supply, but they can't supply immediately.
Because of the temperature level?
No, not because of the temperature level, because again, the temperature is not an issue. I'll come to that, because the Pfizer vaccine, they have supplied elsewhere, and we can only be supplied around May or June or something like that. So they don't have enough. So the fact that Pfizer is -70, that is also okay. We have enough storage. Like, we have enough storage in Sri Lanka to store 1 million doses of Pfizer. So that is not bad. So that is not what is stopping us. What is stopping us is because they say they can't give us. They don't right now. Otherwise, adequate discussion, I mean, lots of discussions have been made. Now, the Sputnik data looks good. The analysis in halfway in their trials was published recently, and the WHO is evaluating their data, including other bodies. So when their trials come to an end, and when the full data is available, because you would agree that these trials have to be finished for people to know the definite outcome. So when the trials finish and when that data is available, and when the WHO also gives guidance, then that would be a good option if it chose to be efficacious as it was shown in the mid trial. So that would be a good option if that is the case.
Right. Taking you back to the vaccine, we have already got about 500,000, and we are getting, that is Oxford AstraZeneca. Now, you said, yeah, it prevents, it prevents you from getting, you can get asymptomatic, and then it doesn't prevent you basically affecting your system, right?
Yes, the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine also does the same. I mean, it doesn't completely prevent everybody from getting infected.
Yeah, but understand, that's why I want to just untie this thing. The understanding is that it is efficacy, as you call it, 60 to 80%. So we also heard, I heard that, which means after getting Oxford AstraZeneca, you still can get infected. That means I get Oxford AstraZeneca and I do a PCR some days later, then still you will have the COVID-19, but it doesn't affect your system. Is this this information which I heard is correct, or is it what you mean by 60 to 80%, or is it wrong?
Yes, so the 60 to 80% I will clarify. So the 60% is of course low, whereas 84% is high, right? So the difference between that is when the gap between the two doses. This is a 2-dose vaccine. So if the gap between the 2 doses is just 4 weeks or 28 days, then the efficacy is like 63%. But if the gap between the 2 doses is 12 weeks, then the efficacy is 84%. So in the WHO guidance and with the emerging data, it is now recommended to have a 12-week gap, because if you can achieve 84% efficacy, why do you want to have 63%, right?
So what I mean is, once you get the 12 weeks second dose, then is this reinfecting while even after getting the vaccine? Is it during that intermediary time, or is it afterwards as well?
Yes. So even after the one dose, it prevents symptomatic infection. Okay. In about 76% of individuals. And I'll explain, and even the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, which are also approved by the WHO, they also don't completely stop asymptomatic infection. Now, when we say that the Pfizer is 95% effective, that doesn't mean it prevents asymptomatic infection also. Right. The 95% is for symptomatic infection.
Right. No, but once you get the second dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca, let's concentrate on that. Second AstraZeneca, then also still you can get infected. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Still you can get infected.
So what happens? Infection means what? You don't have to go anymore, be in ICU or anything like that? Or does
no. Yeah. You won't get symptoms basically. So you won't even get a common cold. You are infected, you don't know.
But if you check the PCR, you will see that this is there.
So some vaccines are like that. If you take the whooping cough vaccine, now if we talk about whooping cough, for instance, now everybody's got whooping cough vaccine, okay, when they were young, and we know that we don't have whooping cough anymore. The whooping cough vaccine does not prevent asymptomatic infection in anybody. Okay, so when you get the triple vaccine, whooping cough is a part of the triple. You still get infected. You still get the bacteria in you, but you don't get infected. We know that we don't have whooping cough anymore. Okay, so it is okay if a vaccine. As I said, the reason we are worried about COVID-19 is because of the devastation it causes.
Yes.
Okay, so otherwise there are a lot of infections that infect us asymptomatically. If you get infected by a bacteria or virus and you don't show any symptoms, what's the problem? Doesn't matter. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's a very good thing. Then there's another school of thought that is about Pfizer and Moderna, that there were a lot of conspiracy theories going. We are not basing on, I'm not saying on those things, that they use a different technology.
Yes.
And because of different technology, they are almost the 96% whatever efficacy has come because they are very some kind of a strong vaccine. So the school of thought is that they can, in the long term, create things like Parkinson's or cramping or become some kind of a as you grow old, basically a couple of years later, your limbs or things can give away, cripple,
Yes.
that kind of thing, or it can affect your if you reproduction of other human beings, that is your children, if you're making children and all things like that. Is this true about this, to your knowledge? I mean, I know you can't tell about everything, but because of the technology Pfizer and Moderna use, could this happen? And it's not prevalent in Oxford, AstraZeneca.
Yes, so I talk about, because those things are also now talked about Oxford for some reason, these conspiracy theories. But basically, because the question was about Pfizer, I'll talk about that. Pfizer and Moderna, it uses a messenger RNA, so it's just RNA. And it is delivered in a nanoparticle, a lipid envelope, so that it goes inside the muscle cell. And this is RNA, which is just translated inside a cell. It is not incorporated into the host genome, because humans, we have DNA. So it can't affect our genome, because the humans only have DNA. I mean, our genome is DNA, so just RNA coming in, which is only has the coronavirus spike protein, that can't do anything, because it only has the coronavirus messenger RNA and nothing else. So all these things are quite, and this fertility and these COVID vaccines is not just Pfizer. I think there's a lot of myths about the Oxford vaccine causing subfertility, because somebody asked me that, so many people asked me that, and I believe that some people in Sri Lanka, healthcare workers, did not get the this vaccine because they thought it causes subfertility. Where that came from is beyond me.
Okay, now so that means, despite the two different technologies Oxford AstraZeneca uses and Pfizer and Moderna use, to your knowledge, you don't think Pfizer and Moderna are dangerous?
No, not dangerous. No. But the Pfizer and Moderna has caused allergies than usual vaccines in people who receive the vaccine. So it has a higher predisposition to cause allergies than the other vaccines. But apart from that issue, there is no other issue with those vaccines. Those are extremely good vaccines.
Right. How many, now I heard in US, they're going to, in the first 100 days of Joe Biden's power, they are going to vaccinate about 100 million people. And I also heard to achieve the so-called control of COVID-19, all you need to do is, in each country, you have to vaccinate about 30 million people. Sorry, not 30 million, 30% of the population, 30 to 40. Is this true?
So 30 to 40%. So there are differences in opinion whether the percentage of individuals you need to immunize to stop transmission. By immunizing 30 to 40% of individuals, you can reduce transmission, because 30 to 40% of a population is huge. So you can definitely reduce transmission, but to stop transmission, to stop the transmission, it would depend on the efficacy of the vaccine. And also a lot of people think you might have to go around 80% of the population. But again, there's a change in the opinion about how many people, the percentage of people you need to immunize to stop transmission. Because if you look at the India, we know that the number of cases are coming down in India, isn't it? So and if you look at international media, everybody is like so surprised what is going on in India. So in some areas in India, about 50% of people have had COVID, which means 50% of the people are naturally immune. In certain areas, it's about 10-15%. So and because a particular level of amount of people are already immune to the COVID, whether that is the reason the number of cases are reducing in India is a good question. So you might be able to reduce the transmission by immunizing 30 to 40%, but not stopping it.
Right. Now, one more question on that. That is, how much? Okay, to your knowledge, I mean, probably you're not in. I don't know whether you are in the vaccine this thing, but how much Sri Lanka is planning to vaccinate initially? Is it 50% of the population, 30%, or 100%?
Yes. I mean, we can't do 100% because the vaccine has not been approved in children. The trials have not been carried out in children. And in all countries, children mostly get asymptomatic disease or mild disease. So this is why in this instance, children were not given priority, or even the vaccine trials were not done in children. Right now, the Oxford has started vaccine trials in children over 6 years. So I think we'll have to leave children out of the equation for the time being. So which means 80% of the population in Sri Lanka over 18, something like that. So I believe Sri Lanka is trying to actually immunize around 70 to 80% of the population. How soon that can be done is the question. How soon we can get vaccines and how soon we can cover this vast population is the question.
Right. Is there a timeline? There is no timeline that we're going to do.
So the timeline is the timeline is soon as possible. So what I hear is although Sri Lanka has approached so many the vaccine companies that the vaccines are short in supply, and for most countries, because the developed countries have already bought vaccines upfront. They have paid for them. So for instance, Canada has purchased so many vaccines, 4 doses for every individual. So once these rich countries finish immunizing theirs, and they'll of course don't need so many vaccines that they have purchased, then only I think we will have an opportunity to get them. Until such time, we will just have to go like 500,000 vaccines per month or something like that. I don't think more than that is coming every month, which is not a lot.
Okay. Now, is coronavirus or COVID-19 is a respiratory virus, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if by accident the coronavirus comes to me and doesn't go to my lung, goes to the stomach. Does it have an effect?
Yeah, so people are looking at that because for instance, the virus is found in fecal matter in those who have had COVID, in people who are acutely infected with COVID. So the virus is there in fecal matter, and whether fecal matter can contaminate, and whether you can get the virus from fecal matter. So far the studies which have been done have shown that the virus is not transmitted fecal-orally, but through respiratory route. So this is what so far the studies have shown, that it is not transmitted through the fecal-oral route, but through the respiratory route. The virus has to take
stomach. Basically, it doesn't matter. I won't get a stomach flu or anything.
No. First of all, no, because stomach has a lot of acid. So yeah.
So the habits which generally I don't see any Western doctor addressing or endorsing, right? But it is supposed to be working in countries like China, even the Chinese people. So top level people even in Chinese government, I know, are doing it. So these habits which you are following. Mask is a must.
Yes.
Mask.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through these things which we have in mind. Using a mask, does it really prevent you from getting infected?
Yes. So definitely yes, because what studies have shown is that the airborne transmission is much more than we thought. That is because there was a question whether it was a droplet infection or airborne, and a lot of authorities were not trying to admit that it's airborne. But now it is very evident that it is mostly airborne, and spreading through infection surfaces is minimum. That is an important thing to remember, because if you take Sri Lanka and so many countries, we spend a lot of we are polluting the environment by people in these suits spraying all the environment like surfaces, when the main mode of transmission is airborne. It's through air and not through surfaces. We have to wash our hands and clean the surfaces. That's a different story, but not mask spraying, which is completely pollution of the environment. So airborne transmission is the main method. So this is why masks are important.
Yeah. Was it you or somebody who brought in about a week ago that double masking is necessary to prevent the new variant? Is double masking a myth, or is it? I mean, I can't wear a single mask and stay.
Yes. So double masking. So it was not me actually. So some studies have shown. So it is nothing to do with this particular variant actually, because all the variants, irrespective of what it is, spread in the airborne method. It can be the UK variant, South African variant, or our own Sri Lankan variant. It spreads through air. So masking of course helps, but if you're having a low quality cloth mask or something like that, then double masking might help you, and it depends on the type of mask you're wearing. If you're wearing a very snug and the environment you are in, so the procedures, the exposure level. So, and it is very difficult to wear one mask when you climb stairs, you are breathless. So, but wearing a mask is very important.
Right. What do you recommend? Do you recommend this heavy masks or is surgical mask enough?
A surgical mask is enough. A surgical mask is enough. The value of cloth mask, especially single ply cloth mask, is debated now because of this airborne spread.
Okay, we have this habits which here, this as you can see, the Chinese people again are supposed to be following, and there, as you know, there are 0 cases in China, right? They did it away with the first wave. Drinking hot water. What they say is, if it accidentally goes and stays in the throat, it will be there for a second. The thinking is this, that this is not like a snake bite. Immediately, it won't go to your lung and kill you, right? It will be there in the throat or the nostrils for a while. Before you tell me whether that's correct or wrong, then the traditional thinking is not diagnosed or told by Western doctors. That drinking hot water will kill it because heat kills it or it goes to the stomach. And then steam inhalation in case it stays in the nose. And it is also these are what I heard, that it stays in the nose for several. It could even stay in several hours or a day.
So
these two are the
yes.
true or wrong?
Yes. So first about the Chinese doctors are also not saying this. It is certain groups of Chinese doctors say things.
No, Chinese traditional medicine. Those are the people.
Yeah. So I mean, even Sri Lankan, certain traditional medicine doctors are excellent in Sri Lanka. We know that. I mean, we have excellent traditional medicine doctors, but also we have quacks. That is no secret. So that's a similar situation in all countries. Okay, you have quacks and you have good doctors. Western or traditional, it doesn't matter. Now, once the virus gets into the nose or the throat, it doesn't just lie around there and having a like a siesta or something. When it okay, because the receptors for the virus to enter the cells are there on the cell surface. So when the virus gets onto the cell surface, it doesn't stay there and think about, okay, should I relax here or should I get in? It immediately gets in because it uses every opportunity to infect and reproduce. Okay, so the larger number of cells it infects, the more it can reproduce. So it is not going to miss an opportunity by just hanging in there. So as soon as a virus comes into contact with a cell bearing the receptor for virus attachment, within 15 to minutes to half an hour, it infects the cell. But just because you have one virus, it doesn't mean that it's going to infect. There's a thing called an infective dose. So for the SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID, it is estimated that about 1,000 viruses are needed to cause infection. So when you have adequate dose, about 1,000 viruses getting into your respiratory system, like your nose and your throat and infecting the cells, you will get an infection. If you just get 1 or 2, then your immune system will get rid of it.
So, okay, we'll say there's no 1,000 viruses. I've got about 50 viruses on my nose because I was careless in a meeting or something. Then I come home and steam inhale and drink hot water. Won't that kill it?
No, because those 50 viruses won't just stay there till about the rest of the viruses come to cause infection. Okay.
But what is going to happen to those 50? You said
they
cannot infect you.
They will infect you. They will infect the cells. But because 50 cells are infected, your immune system will get rid of those 50 cells. When you get about 1,000 cells infected, then it becomes a little bit of a too much problem for your immune system.
Right. So
it's a number game.
Yeah, it's a number. In other words, it's the immune system you need to make strong.
Yes.
It is the strong immune system that is going to knock it out.
Yes. So you can very well see with the people who are getting severe disease is when their immune system is knocked off a little bit.
All right. What is your recommendation for the immune system be strong? Is it what we heard throughout the last 10 months, vitamin C, Kottamalli, and things like that? Or is there anything else?
Yes, so it's not vitamin C. It's actually studies have in clinical trials have shown that vitamin D helps. So vitamin D is important. Kottamalli has shown to have a lot of antiviral effects. So I think that's a good traditional medicine to take. Kottamalli.
Kottamalli alone, to your knowledge, or Kottamalli with that Paspangu thing?
No. So the Kottamalli hasn't been tested against COVID per se, but Kottamalli works on a lot of respiratory viruses. So I don't see why you shouldn't take Kottamalli. it is good. So I think you should go ahead and take Kottamali. That sounds good, like good advice. But more than that, to strengthen our immune system. So the immune system, so people with diabetes and cancers, chronic kidney disease, their immune system is a little bit weaker. So this is why they are more predisposed to severe COVID, including people who are obese. So so good sleeping habits. So to get adequate quantity of sleep, because even studies have shown that if you don't sleep properly, the immune responses to the vaccines are impaired. Sleep affects vaccine efficacy also. So sleeping is important, adequate sleep. Then exercise is important, which a lot of Sri Lankans neglect. That they need to actually move themselves. So exercise is important, and good eating habits. So in the traditional Sri Lankan diet, we have lots of micronutrients, lots of these things, fiber, which is good for the gut bacteria and good for our immune system. So the traditional Sri Lankan diet, full of vegetable leaves, pulses, so taking a traditional Sri Lankan diet would be good.
Vitamin D and C is not mandatory, you're saying?
Vitamin D is important because a lot of people.
C is not mandatory.
C is not mandatory because if you have excess, it is passed out in the urine anyway. Right. And if you eat enough fruits and vegetables, you have enough vitamin C. Vitamin D, you can't get enough sometimes from food because we mainly get it from sunlight, but a lot of people don't get enough sunlight these days.
Why is that? Because there's a debate on that as well. I spoke to several nutritionists about this. They say Sri Lankans, Asians, get a vitamin D more than the Western people of the Western Hemisphere. Yes. And then there's another school of thought which says that because of our dark skin, vitamin D isn't going.
No.
It's wrong.
No. Yeah.
Which is correct.
Yeah, so now, for instance, if you look at Western countries, any respiratory infection, not just COVID, even influenza and everything is more severe in winter months. And if you have inadequate levels of vitamin D, you get more severe respiratory infections, and that is one reason we are seeing more severe COVID in the winter months in all these Western countries. It will be less severe in those countries in summer. Now in Sri Lanka, we have enough of vitamin D, but if you look at, early morning activities, people are stuck to their mobile devices and other things and stuck inside houses or offices, and they don't get any fresh air, get involved with activities. So where does the vitamin D come from? Just because there's a sun outside.
So at least 10 minutes you have to walk in the morning or stay in the sun.
Yes, or do something rather than stay in the sun.
There's no effect on dark skin.
No. Yeah.
Right. So, and probiotics also, is it necessary? I was told.
Probiotics are good. Probiotics are good. Kiripeni. So probiotics, they're in a lot of our normal traditional Sri Lankan food.
That's what you said, yeah.
And
was it you who said, I think I heard about a month ago, was it you who said on TV that not to eat or lessen fast food? It will reduce the immune system.
Yeah, so that was misquoted terribly and certain memes were made. So basically what I wanted to highlight was to take a traditional diet, because the traditional diet has a lot of probiotics, micronutrients, vitamins, and which is important for immune system, and also encourages good bacteria in your gut, which is important for immunity.
Now, once you take, I know a lot of people who took this, especially doctors, professors also like you, I know, taken. And then I have two of my cousins who are doctors, husband and wife, and a lot of people who took it does not have still any after effects, right? But the same family, the lady the doctor, no, not even fever, headache, but the husband had fever and headache. So these after effects, how do they come? Do they come due to, depending on your physical strength and your total body strength, or is there other factors? And coupled to that, the other question is, what are the after effects we should expect by taking Oxford AstraZeneca?
Yeah, so both Oxford AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna vaccines cause these similar side effects. Even the Sputnik, because that is also adenovirus platform. So most of these, if not all of these vaccines have the, so people who take the vaccine have flu-like illness. Flu-like illness is fever, body aches. Some people had even a minority had vomiting and diarrhea as well. And one thing that is shown in all their clinical trials, the Pfizer, Oxford, Sputnik, and everything, is that older people get less side effects than younger people. So it could be that the younger people, like in your immune system, there is an immediate immune response that fights the bacteria. So it may be possibly younger people or certain individuals have a very robust immediate immune response which causes these side effects. Some people don't have any of these reactions at all, and that hasn't shown to actually affect subsequent immune responses. But of course, we are studying this, others are studying this as well. So I would be able to let you know in about a month's time more data whether it affects your immune response. But we know that there's a huge individual variation for anything. So you have to expect that you might get fever, you will most likely get headache, body aches, joint pain, and not feel like yourself for about a day or two.
Yeah, now, as you know, all the other vaccines in the world, like polio and everything we take, they were studied for years and years, 3 years, 4 years, 25,000, 100,000 people like that, right? So that's why you can give a proper analysis of what they had. This is, I think, they produce it in 4 months, right? Yeah. 4 months or 4 to 8 months. So like you said, data is still coming on the researchers that you are doing. Any advice you would give from what I have not asked from you?
Yes, so there is as you said, there is a public mistrust that these vaccines were developed fast, so we don't know what is going on. But if I can just let you know, usually when a vaccine is developed, you do preclinical studies, which is in culture dishes and in animals. You present that data, then the scientists have to go begging around for funding for the phase 1 trial. Then you do the phase 1 trial, you present the data, then you go begging for the next round. So for each of these rounds, it takes a lot of time. But what happened here is the preclinical trials were anyway done because it was done for other viruses. It was just changed the virus and quickly done. And so the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So while the phase 1 was going on, the data was presented. Funding was just available because it was a global problem. Okay, so as in the middle of phase 1, the data was presented. Then phase 2 started. And in the middle of phase 3, manufacturing started. So the manufacturing companies were taking a huge risk because by the end of the phase 3, if the data was not good, then you will have to throw away the vaccine. So it is actually collaboration between scientists, governments, policymakers, and manufacturing companies coming together to work. So this is what you can achieve by working together.
Professor Neelika Malavige, thank you very much for joining us, Professor of Immunology and Molecular Medicine of University of Jayawardenapura. Thank you very much. It was supposed to be a half an hour chat, but it went on much beyond that. Yeah. But we needed to clarify from you all those misconceptions, and I think we have a very clear idea as to what we should do. One last question. I saw this Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN told in the beginning, you probably know him. He was saying that washing hands is okay. You have to wear the mask, all that. But this, because you said some physical transmission on surface-to-surface transmission can happen, and you should be careful of what you bring home. That is, your clothing has to be washed as well as your groceries should be sprayed or clean. So, are you in sync with Dr. Sanjay Gupta's opinion on that?
Yes, so washing your groceries and things, I think that is taking things a little bit too far. Okay?
Really? So I did that the whole year. I mean, get all over the groceries and cleaning them. Because I saw a video he's doing.
So I think, So I think everybody washes their groceries very well before they cook or consume it.
Mm-hmm. So from tomorrow, this weekend, when I do the grocery shopping, I can just come there, bring them and put them on the refrigerator and keep no harm?
And no harm, but you'd better wash. You're obviously going to wash them before you eat, right?
Yeah, that's true. But you don't have to pre-wash them before anything like that. Spray.
No, not really. No.
Oh, that's a consolation. Thank you very much for that. And again, Professor Neelika Malavige, Professor of Immunology and Molecular Biology, Medicine of University of Jayawardenapura. Thank you for joining this chat. And we wish you well and success in your research. And thank you for all the work you're doing for us in these hard times.
Okay, thank you. My pleasure.
That's my guest today on the special COVID-19 YouTube series on interviews. I'll see you when I see you with another chat like this with Professor Neelika or another person as we go ahead, and we all hope that this COVID thing will end at least this year so that the new normal can come back to normal. Thank you. I'll see you when I see you.
Okay, right. Thank you.